All right, we are live. Let me get the Amazon thing going here. Hopefully it's working. There we go. All right. So, in case you're just tuning in, today we are going to take a look at a new laptop that is powered by the updated Ryzen 5000 series processor. And I've got about a little more than an hour or so to mess around with this. So we're going to get the ball rolling very shortly here. So this one is one of these HP machines. And this is not available on Amazon if you happen to be watching on Amazon right now, but there are a few that are on Amazon now with this chip on it. But like everything right now, it's so hard to get stuff. So the supply of this stuff is going to be really hard over the course of the year here. So this one's on loan from HP. So when we're done with this, it goes back to them. And what's neat about this one is that this is one of those machines that you see listed or you see at a retailer somewhere, and it doesn't look like much, but what's inside is what makes the difference here. So this has got the new Ryzen processor. This is the 5500U. And the machine itself is not going to impress you with its aesthetics. But, like I said, it's not what's outside, it's what's inside that really matters here. So let's have a look at it. They sent this to me on loan, and this came directly from China. It's like it was manufactured and shipped right to me. So this is it. Let's set it aside for a second and get all the other stuff out of the box. You know, it's all plastic. It's not one of these really well-constructed machines. But, like I said, it's not what's outside, it's what's inside. And this has got that 5500U processor. I saw a question about whether or not this has a 1080p display. It does, although when you go on looking for it, the less expensive configuration has a 720p display. And when you've got 720p at 15 inches, it looks terrible. So my suggestion would be to go for the larger display because that's going to look a lot nicer. So let me just get a little organized here. Yeah, there isn't much to this one, but we're going to have a review of this up at some point in the near future. I'll probably shoot this tomorrow or the next day. What I'd like to do is get some work done on my Starlink dish that came in also. So I've got a lot of stuff going on right now. So yeah, it feels like a low-cost laptop because it is. So it's not going to have, you know, if you've ever seen those HP Envies or those fancier X360s, it's basic transportation. But like I said, here's what I liken it to, is that you could go out and you could spend a ton of money on, you know, a real high-end Corvette. Or, you know, you could get similar horsepower in a Camaro. Save yourself some money and you still got plenty of horsepower, right? So that's kind of the gist of it. All right, let me get my computer here is updating, so I have to futz around here with this stuff. And got some questions here. I'll be able to get those questions up on screen in a second, but I'm looking on my screen here. Thomas Anfang wants to know, should I get a MacBook M1 now or wait? Well, I would say that if you need the ports, I would probably wait until they announce those MacBook Pros. But we don't know when that's going to happen because Apple, along with everyone else, is supply constrained right now, which is why you can't get this computer configured exactly the same way that I got it a week ago. So you're going to be struggling with all of this. There is a USB-C port on here. So let me show you the ports on this as we get set up. And here, I'll give you the overhead on this. And it looks like my computer is back up, so I can start taking your comments a little bit more efficiently here. So let me give you the overhead. So we got two USB 3 ports here on the left-hand side. And then on this side, we've got an SD card reader, headphone jack, USB Type-C. We'll test that for full service capabilities, and then an HDMI port right here. And again, this is running with a Ryzen 5500U processor. On Amazon, JNG wants to know, can a Surface Pro 7 run graphic games such as Valorant? I don't know. I don't think so. Well, I think it could, but it won't be that great. I don't know what it has for a processor. So I think that's really what it comes down to. If it's got, you know, the new 1165 G7 processor, the i7 variant, it might. But I've never played Valorant, so I don't know for sure. All right, so now I'm getting my computer booted up here so I can start tossing some comments to our comment stream. Now this has, again, the Ryzen 5500U. It has, maybe I'll put this into the chat so, because I know people will be asking. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM, and we could take it apart in a minute and see exactly how that RAM is configured if you'd like. I figured we'd boot it up first and just get a lay of the land here. And we'll kind of go from there. Let me just go and add another window to my thing here. And if you're watching on Amazon, unfortunately, you cannot buy this on Amazon at the moment. And let me start passing some comments over to our screen here. Joe Tyson is joining us again. I may have missed a few here, so if you didn't see, if I don't acknowledge you, just resend. Matt Thomas Taylor is here. Hello. Hello there.
Cortana.
Hello, Cortana.
Here to help.
Zach Zoom is here. Andy G is here.
And we'll have your PC ready for
Juan is here from Argentina. Hola. Thomas, we hopefully answered your question earlier, is here. Zach Zoom, does it have a 1080p? Yes, it does, but
if you need an
it looks,
screen reader, press the Windows, Control,
it doesn't
and
look so
Enter
great.
keys at the same time to turn on narrator.
But you know, it also,
Okay,
let me turn her off here.
intro.
It also, though, because you see like the backlight bleed going on here, it almost looks like a TN display. It doesn't look like it's IPS. So we're going to have to explore that as we dive into this a little bit. Anthony Bianco is here. Eric wants to know the speed of the RAM. I do not know, but we'll try to get the answer to that question. We answered that one. And Andy G says, HP laptops are good for our work environment. Yeah, they make a lot. Yeah, I think the big three are HP, Lenovo, and Dell, right? Those are the big three. And Acer, I think, is in 4th place. Chris says this will have to do a lot to impress him on, yeah. Well, it all depends, right? And I think what I was excited about here was to get one of these new Ryzens, and you can't get these things anywhere. They're so hard to track down. Asus has a couple that I think are on Amazon right now, which I've linked to in the Amazon stream. But it's hard to get these things right now, so I figured let's get the first one we can get our hands on and see what this new platform is looking like. Zach Zoom is wondering if we'd take a look at the, you know, I will say that I have never had good luck with those AMD Athlon-based devices. I think you need to get a Ryzen, for sure. Got a super chat here from As Death Stalks Us. Thank you for the super chat. I dig the vids. Have you reviewed the GS66 Stealth? I have not. Although we did just get in, and Jake's coming by to pick it up. We just got in the new Lenovo Legion 5 Pro that has a 3070, and it has an AMD processor on it. So that one I'm excited to play with. Mark Powers wants to know, what's the cost? These are about $600 or $700 now, and that seems to be what these are selling for right now. Mansour Daz says, it looks cheap as heck. Does it feel cheap? It does feel cheap. It does. It really does. Like, honestly, it feels cheaper than it should for the price point, to be honest with you. And what you're paying for here right now is the fact that it's got, I'm just going to get on my Wi-Fi real quick. What you're paying for right now is I think the component cost is driving this up. We're not going to see, this is my concern right now on a whole host of levels. I don't think we're going to see a lot of affordable computers for a while. Like, the affordable ones are going to be super constrained performance-wise. So if you rewind a little bit, when we were looking at the Acer Swift 3 or whatever, which had the Ryzen 3200 on board, like that was and it's still a good value, right? You could get it for $500. It was a great deal. I don't think these new Ryzens are going to be coming in around that price due to the component costs. So I think that's my opinion on that. Asian wants to know, what's the best desktop I should get? You know, I like to build my own desktops. In fact, all of my desktops I've built myself, with the exception of my iMac. Todd Kleinhardt says, thanks for reviewing this price point. Yeah, you know, not a lot of reviewers do. They always want like the high-end stuff, and I'm always looking to see like, where's the value, right? Because I always figured that there's more people looking. Oh my gosh, this keyboard, by the way. The keyboard, it feels like a sponge. It does not feel great. Oh, it's like missing key presses. Yeah, the keyboard is not good here. Let me just get logged into my Microsoft account here. Fifth Avenue wants to know, do I stream on YouTube as well? I do. If you go to Lon.TV, you can see my YouTube channel right now. And I am simulcasting. Whenever I stream on Amazon, I'm usually simulcasting to YouTube. And thank you for the follow, Fifth Avenue, on Amazon. Easy HT Text says, it sure looks cheap. Yep, it sure does. It feels that way. Zach Zoom says I should review the Macintosh. Well, one is a Macintosh and one is an Apple IIgs, and I think I've reviewed both of them. Actually, I didn't do the Mac because it's not working. The display is messed up. But I did do a Mac Plus recently, so you can see reviews of both. Redactus says I would like to see a comparison to the 4500U, and that is exactly the mission that we are undertaking with this, because I'm curious about that as well. In fact, the first thing that I want to do is I want to run the 3D Mark benchmark test on it to see how that performs versus the 4500U. And I'm curious about how we can get into it. Looks like you got to peel off the feet to get inside of it. So you know what I'm going to do probably is I don't want to register this because I don't really own it. This is on loan from HP, by the way. Yeah, I got to tell you, like, if I paid what this thing is currently selling for, based on just the build and the screen quality, I am not crazy about what they're offering at this price point. And I think this is going to be the next 2 years for us, is that gone will be the days of a nicely built and high-performing laptop. You're going to have to pick one of the two, just because of the hardware shortages. Good afternoon, Flood of Sins. Oops, I hit the wrong button there. And Todd makes a good point about the GPUs being hard to find. That's for sure. That is for sure. Andy G also wants to know about memory expansion slots. I'm guessing there's probably 2 slots on this one. I'm just loath to take it apart just because I have to peel off I hate peeling off the rubber feet. It drives me crazy to have to do that. So I'm going to boot this up and see exactly what we've got for memories. I want to do a kind of a quick look at the performance first, and then we'll dive into some stuff from there. And I forgot to download the 3D Mark benchmark, so what I'll do as we're waiting here is I'll get my Ethernet connected and we'll go ahead and download that off of my Ethernet connection. And we just got to wait a second for this to boot up. So I got a little USB-C Ethernet adapter here that we're going to plug in. This is a little gigabit Ethernet dongle, which we will connect momentarily. Dogman wants to know how I'm doing today. I am doing just fine. I just took the dog out for a walk. It's a beautiful day where we are. Got some fun projects I'm working on, so I'm really excited about that. Redacted is saying that his friend's got to wait for a Kia. That's how bad it is. He can't even get a Kia right now. That's crazy. Andy wants me to show you the AC adapter. That sounds like a personal question, but I'm happy to show you the AC adapter. It's one of these tiny little HP ones here. All right, and now we've got all of the bloatware. I don't want Dropbox. Skip this. Yes, that's the other thing. You get inundated. Dropbox now. All right, let's make sure we make note of this before I get into the rest of it, because yeah, it looks like it is a 1080p display, but it just doesn't look that great. It feels like a TN display to me. Roger P is here. Hello. And bear with me, folks. I'm just trying to get my notes put together here so we can get started on this project. And we might do a two-parter here. We'll see. Okay, so I'm just going to start a new Google Doc here for my notes on this laptop. HP 50s. Yeah, so this is like one of these things where I feel like we're regressing in build quality, because I think we have seen much better built machines with these mid-range Ryzen chips than what I'm seeing with this one. And HP typically has been doing pretty good, but this one, you know, it just doesn't feel that great. So we'll have to get some from some other brands. But this was the first one of these I could get my hands on. That's how hard they've been to track down. So there you go. You can see the display kind of flopping around here. So I'm going to grab Steam real quick. I just want to kind of run an initial benchmark on it. And I also want to do a quick search for CPU-Z, which might give us a little insight as to how the RAM is configured. The big thing that I want to know is whether or not this has dual channel RAM. And I'm trying to avoid taking it apart initially to find out, although I think we may have to end up going there, but we'll see. I'm not sure if it's that hard to take apart. It looks like we just have to unscrew it and get our little spudger in around the corners here to get into it. But lately, you know, it's been interesting. We have another HP that we'll be looking at. It's their new ARM-based machine, and that one has a really extensive teardown video from HP on their YouTube channel. Like, they show you the entire teardown. So there seems to be a little willingness, perhaps, to show that there are serviceable parts inside. And they actually show you how to take apart everything. I'm not sure if you can get the parts from them, but I was intrigued by that. So let's go over to the zip version here. And this is so misleading. So when you go on this website, if you don't have an ad blocker on, this is the kind of stuff that people get confused by. And this is how malware gets on your system, right? I clicked download, and instead I was given an ad that tried to mislead me. And this is how people get malware on their computers, is by doing that. Jacob, thank you for the follow. Roger P wants to know, can you game with this laptop? Well, that'll be one of the things that we investigate here. Theoretically, this should be a really good, or I should say a passable gaming laptop because of that Ryzen processor. But it all depends on how they have it configured. So we'll have to see how this works. Ladislav wants to know, can the task manager tell you how many DIMMs are occupied? I don't know if the task manager can do that, can it? Let's see, more details. I don't think it can tell you that, can it? Oh, it does, yeah, you're right. It does tell you that. It saved me some work there. Okay, thank you for that. So in case you're wondering, it does have 2 slots used, so that means that we should have a dual channel memory configuration, which is important. They are SODIMMs, and the speed is 3.2 gigahertz for the memory. So that is good. So we don't necessarily need to run that CPU-Z. Okay, so let me get my Ethernet connected here, and we're going to download just one more little benchmark tool. And what I've got here, so what I've been doing over the years, because one of the things that we struggle with on reviewing computers is that we have to keep downloading all the games. But on Steam, you can download games to an external hard drive like this one. And you don't have to continually re-download everything. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to attach that drive to the computer, and then we're going to load Steam up or download Steam, and then we can just point Steam at this drive. And what's nice about this is it saves us a lot of time, especially when Jake is doing all his reviews of stuff. He does a lot of what I'm doing now is what Jake typically does. So, but I figured you all wanted to see some of what these new Ryzens can do. So Roger P. is asking about Valorant. So is Valorant like that's the second request I've had for Valorant today. What is Valorant? Is it a free-to-play thing? Riot Games competitive 5 versus 5 character-based tactical shooter. Yeah, we'll see if we can get that going later, if we have time. What I want to do, though, is get the benchmark run first. I always like to look at the benchmark just because we've been running this benchmark for years, so we have so much data on this stuff. But yeah, I am not excited about where we are going to be going with the low end of the computer market. I feel like just the spongy keyboard on this just reminds me of where we were about a decade ago. All right, so I'm going to go and connect. I've got to go download Steam first, so let's install. I think I logged into the website as opposed to actually installing Steam, so let's download this real quick and get that going. I've been like trying to do 12 million things all at once today, so I'm trying to keep my head straight. Jacob wants to know, did I ever get my Apple IIgs fixed? I have not gotten it fixed yet, although the fix is really easy, and I actually have another power supply in the closet over there, which I haven't taken out yet. That power supply, though, has the same affliction that the one that I currently have has, which is that the filter cap is going to blow up on it and smoke everything out. But we will do a live stream where we get that thing working again, because I've really souped up that 2GS. I got a lot of cool stuff in there. Roger P. says the laptops need to get into the mechanical keyboards. Yeah, this one could definitely use that, I think. All right, so I'm going to log into my Steam account real quick, even though I already did it before. I think it's going to send me the same code, but let's see. Okay, good. Yep. All right, so now what we're going to do, it feels pretty zippy, but you know, most computers these days feel pretty zippy. So now what I'm going to do is go over to Settings, and then what you can do is go to Downloads. You go to Steam Library Folders, and then you can just add your external drive. So if you're constantly running around to different computers, or you don't have a lot of storage on your main PC, you can just grab these little USB SSDs and keep throwing games on them. And you see, once I did that, everything just popped up. But the one thing that we do have to download again is, or download for the first time, is 3D Mark, because I neglected to do that earlier. So I'm just going to install that real quick. So we're going to click Install here, and I'm going to put it on that drive. So once I put it on the drive here, it's always going to be there. And we just got to let that install real quick. So we'll do that. And we'll let that do its thing. It says 6 minutes, but this will pick up steam as pardon the pun. This will pick up steam once it starts downloading. The fan is not too bad on it yet, but I suspect that the fan noise will be a little noisy on here too. And one of the things we'll have to look out for when we do the full review is to what extent it's going to thermal throttle. But see, now we're downloading at 45 megabytes per second. And it should be picking up now. You have about 50 megabytes per second now. So this is a gigabit connection. I have 2 gigabits maximum on my internet service, but we're not going to get there. So gigabit's fine for Steam downloads. And Todd says I could save time if I put I should probably put the installer on there too. What happened was this drive the drive's been fine, but it had a little corruption issue from when Jake was using it the last time. So I've been setting it up from scratch again. But I will probably put that on there. What we used to do is, actually we still do this. We were using Ninite, so we can install like Chrome, Steam, and a few of the other things that we use all the time at once. That's a pretty helpful utility. But it doesn't install everything that we want to use, so. George says he used to be able to put every game on the hard drive. Actually, you know what's funny is I remember a time when my first PC was a 386. It was a 25 megahertz 386. It had a 130 megabyte hard drive. And a lot of the games at the time were enormous. Like they were using anywhere from like 25 to 30 or 40 megabytes, especially like Wing Commander that has that had like these speech packs. This is before the CD-ROMs, so they did eventually release Wing Commander on CD, which saved a lot of hard drive space. But you had to pick and choose what you'd be playing on your computer. And then when you wanted to reinstall, you couldn't download. You had to load in 12 floppies again. It was a nightmare, but that's how it was, and we liked it. Can you upgrade the RAM on this? I think so. I haven't taken it apart yet. I figured we would do a benchmark first and then maybe venture in and see what's inside the case, because I think I have to pull the rubber feet off of it. Todd's wondering about the computers in the back. Yes, we have an Apple IIgs back there. That's the one that has the detached display. Then the one next to it is a Mac SE30, which back in its day was very expensive. Prime enjoyed the wrap-up. Thank you. And Zach Zoom's got to run, everybody. Say goodbye to Zach Zoom. Thanks for stopping by, though. And new Intel H-Mobile. Yeah, this has been fun. I think there's been I think AMD has really stirred up the competition with Intel, and we're all going to benefit as customers from that. Chris Ainsley says the build quality looks, yeah, that's the one thing that I think it feels as bad as it looks. Let's put it that way. And so this is one of those computers where you're buying like the lousy industrial design to get the best performance at the price point. Although I think we're at a point where that may not be this. You know, it's going to be hard, I think, to get these computers at reasonable prices for a while. And so this one, I think, if this had come out pre-pandemic, you probably would have paid $100 or $200 less than what this is going to be selling for. Honestly, that's how bad it is right now. Mike Lucas says his company has moved away from HP due to build quality and goofy UEFI setting choices that they've made. It's funny how like they can make a decision at that level that would invalidate it for a whole company operation, but that happens. Todd Kleinhardt was a fan of the Atari computer. I'm sure, Todd, have you heard of the Antic Atari podcast? And if you haven't, I think you need to subscribe to it because they do they have been interviewing like anybody who had any connection to the Atari computers back in the 80s, they have interviewed or building up a historical record of it. And if you are into the Atari, I think you will love that podcast. Thaddeus says the trackpad looks a bit odd. Yeah, it definitely is a bit odd there. The color depth of the display is not good. I don't know what it is, but it appears to be a TN display. It does not have a very good image on it. It looks actually better on camera than it does in person. Yeah, it is a clingy trackpad for sure. For sure. Eric Brett, this is a good question. Okay, here comes the benchmark here. We're going to let this run. Let me turn the volume down, though. Where is the mute button here? There it goes. My My team thinks most people would be better off with an iPad. That is too mid-ranging. Why would these people need a laptop? They aren't there for photo. You know, I think it's a good point because I have not found an iPad to be a good solution for general computing. Not in the least. By the way, this benchmark is going to appear to not run so great, but actually it's running better than you would expect on a laptop at this price point, or at least at this configuration level. But for iPads, you know, I have an iPad Pro, and I try, every time the new iPads come out and I get one, I always try to like, can I edit my videos on it? Can I do my work on it? And almost every time the answer is no. I just have, it is not good for productivity use at all, at least in my opinion. Some people can do everything on them, but I always feel limited. I need a computer. That's why I like the M1 Mac. And I'm so confused why they're putting an M1 in an iPad and it doesn't run Mac OS. Like I want to be able to dock it and make it a Mac. That's what I want. So don't hate me because of my internet speed. I've got a super expensive Comcast fiber optic connection. And Venom Snake says, what's the point of 2.5 gigabit Ethernet? It actually makes sense if you're cost constrained and if you don't have a need for 10 gig, but you have like a faster than gigabit internet connection. So I have a couple of, I've got like one spot in my house where I've got a 2.5 gig switch because a 10 gig would have been a lot more money. Oh, did we crash? I think we crashed. We may have to start the benchmark over again. Let's see. Spike Blaze, I may have missed the testing. No, we are just getting started, and it looks like the testing is already causing some issues here. So let's see what's happening. It looks like it's like stuck or the video driver crashed. So I think what I might do next, yeah, it totally just crashed. Or maybe it finished, I don't know. Let's just let this run and see what happens. Todd says the SE30s were spendy. Yes, they were. I think that one behind me was probably about $5,000. It's got a hard drive in it. A friend of mine's father had it. He was an anesthesiologist, so they had it like new. And they loved that computer. It was so fast back in its day. Oh my gosh, yeah, Todd, you're going to love the Antic podcast if you're into retro computing. For sure. So we'll see. Easy HT says, looks like you were sent the wrong. Nope, this is exactly what I wanted to get in. I wanted to find, this is what I was looking for, because we have seen a lot of great review performance on this channel as far as like views and affiliate commissions, all that stuff. The Acer Swift 3, yeah, the Acer Swift Slim, one of these, you know, Ryzen-based Acer things. These low-cost Ryzen laptops always do well on this channel because people are looking for the maximum performance for the lowest price. And so I have been looking in this category for computers to review, and they have been impossible to get. I was going to buy a few, but they were all like being through resellers. You couldn't get one, you know, that was actually shipped and sold by Amazon. It looks like there is an Asus one now that I might try to grab. But this was the first one I could get in. So this came from HP. This is from their affiliate thing. So they have like a loaner program. So we're borrowing this and we're going to send it back to them when we're done. And so I wasn't expecting much on the aesthetic side. Unfortunately, we have seen like a nice march towards higher quality hardware. This one is going in the opposite direction. But I'm more curious about the performance of the processor. Eric Brett wants to know, how would this compare to the typical i5 Intel? That's what we're going to find out in a few minutes when this is done. They typically do a little better than the i5s. What happened was, like these Ryzen chips when the 4000 series came out really like leapfrogged over Intel. And then Intel fired back with their G7 graphics on their i5 and i7 chips. And I expect that this one will do better than the Tiger Lake stuff. So we'll see exactly when this test is concluded how it performs. I can tell you though, in watching the benchmark run here, it definitely feels like there's a speed improvement from before. And my guess would be it's maybe going to be 20% over the prior AMD. Mansour Diaz says, to be fair, actually this is exactly what I like to do because I'm not generally computing. I'm trying to see what can we get out of this computer. Like what's reasonable to expect. Because a lot of people are looking for something. I think the whole premise of my channel when I first got started doing computer reviews is that we were finding computers that you could get a lot more out of than you might expect. And that's always been my approach to this stuff. And I see in reference to the iPad. I mean, you're right. I mean, I think if it works for you, I am all for it. I want people to find the best solution for them. But for me, I always get to a point where I get frustrated on the iPad. Even if I'm editing a Google Doc, I just can't get it to where I want it to be. Spying Gecko, is this dual channel? Yes, it does have both of its RAM slots occupied. So it appears to be dual channel. And we will find out for sure. Mohammed wants to know with the new Iris graphics and the Vega 8, we'll find out in a few minutes when this is, oh, the test is done. Okay, so let's go and take a look. Now, if you want to follow along, go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, and we'll pull this up. I'm going to get my desktop capture app up here so you can see what I'm looking at here. And bear with me for 1 second while I get configured here. And I'm just going to add this image to my display here so you can see what I'm looking at. So Lon.TV/benchmarks is my benchmark database. And this is where we record all of the scores from all of the benchmarks that we run. Now, I don't like to rely solely on benchmarks because I think there's more to every story. But I have found it to be really useful to see exactly what a computer is capable of. So on this initial run of this test, we got a score of 1,061. And let me pull up and it's actually good because I have something highlighted from a previous review here. So if I pull up prior benchmarks, you can see that some of our best Ryzen 5 benchmark results came in at around 997. So this one is performing better than the prior generation Ryzen chip, but I was expecting a higher score. But we got to dig into the details here because we got a score of 1,061, but that is inclusive of the CPU and the GPU. So what I'm more curious about is where's the graphics performance at? And that is a little bit better than what we saw before. And so we're going to have to dig into this a little bit because it's not what I was expecting. And I think I might want to download some drivers and see if that might improve things. I just need to look up the exact model number of this computer here real quick. So bear with me for 1 second here while I do that. Yeah, this, by the way, is called the HP 15EZ F2000. And let me just write down that in here. Yeah, they don't really have a brand name for this. This is the 15EZ. This is why, this is like one of those commodity laptops. So this has got the Ryzen 5500U. Okay, so now we're going to type in the first score. I think what I'm going to do, though, is download the drivers and see if that might give us a better outcome here. So we got on the first graphics test, I'll show you my screen that I'm typing things in on here. And I'm sorry I can't zoom this in, but maybe I can do it this way. Let me zoom in a little bit for you here. Hopefully that makes it look a little bit easier to see. It's going to scale it a little bit, but I think it'll give you a good indicator here. Okay, so on the first test, we got 6.27 FPS. And then on the second test, we got 5.25 FPS. And then on the CPU portion, CPU actually is pretty good on this, 15.04 FPS. But what's interesting is that if we compare that to the ThinkBook that we looked at recently with the 4500U, it's pretty close to that. And I was expecting better performance than what we got here. I was thinking that we should see maybe 20% more. Maybe that is, I guess we'd have to really dig into it to see. I don't know how it measures what 20% means on FPS in that test, for example. But it's not what I was expecting. So the first thing we want to do here is let's go jump into, and there could be some other things running in the background, like the web browser that might have been impacting it. But I want to check out CPU-Z just to see if it is in fact running dual channel. Because sometimes these laptops will have 2 sticks of RAM occupied, but it's only single channel. I don't know why they would build one like that, but you never know. It is dual channel. So I can confirm that it's definitely dual channel memory. But it only has 8 gigs of RAM, so that could be part of the problem here. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, maybe we'll just run that test again without that browser open. So let's try that one more time and just see if that makes any difference. And also what happens too when you first get these computers is they're often downloading updates and everything else, so there always is something that could be impacting things a little bit. But let's try that benchmark again. Also, FMQA here says that it's still the Zen 2. Ah, okay. So it looks like we probably would need to go up to the other one. So yeah, it doesn't seem like there's much. I mean, there's definitely a performance advantage here over the other ones, but it doesn't feel that significant. And that's what's been interesting is that what we saw between the 3200 and 3500U and the 4500U was a pretty significant update in its performance. But maybe what we'll do is maybe we'll grab the driver anyhow and just see if there's, because it is early days for this chipset. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put into the chat the configuration so people know what it is. So I guess the bottom line here is that if you can get if this is going to be indicative of performance, you might be better off getting the 4500Us that you can find now, right? I'm just going to drop this into the chat here. So then people have that. So let me skip this real quick. So I just want to go back and grab the driver now just to see if there's any drivers that we can bring to bear here. Yeah, it could be a whole bunch of stuff going on. I have a feeling too that maybe the drivers, let's just put the drivers in and see if that makes any difference. Typically it doesn't, but you never know. So let's just grab the Radeon Adrenaline thing here and just see what happens. Do the auto download just to keep it quick. I mean, it still feels pretty snappy. I mean, it feels like a fast little computer, but so did the 4500 based machines too. And Zozu says, see, this is why I do these live streams, so I can learn from all of you. And I think this will be helpful for viewers to understand as well. If the second number of the APU is odd, then it's Zen 2. So the Zen 3s are only on the next one up. So if the second, so which one would it be? The 5800? Is that what we should get? Because that's what I'll look for in the next one that I try to track down. So the 5600U or the 5800U. So they're making this very confusing for consumers, I think, because before you would just get, all right, so let's just do it. Before you would get a pretty significant bump in performance going from one generation to the next. This one seems much more marginal, at least with this particular chip versus the 4500U. But we'll drop the driver in and see what happens. We got time. And here's the breakdown, everybody. So the 5600U and the 5800U are Zen 3. 5500U and 5700U are Zen 2. And as Spike Blighty points out, this is a very good point, is a minefield. Totally. Especially given, now granted, I don't know if people who are looking for a laptop in this particular area are out there savvy about the differences between one generation to the next, but before it was very consistent. Every jump in generation was a big jump in graphics performance, and this time not so much. Although this does feel like it's running about where the top end prior generation chip did, at least from that first CPU test. So Zozu says the 5600U is 6-core, 5700U is 8-core, 5800U is Zen 3 8-core. Oh my goodness. That is crazy. Yeah, some more comments on this too. This might be more of a commentary review we end up doing, right? Like, do I really need Skype? Like, look at this, it just pops up. I didn't want that. FMQA says, this is a 4600U with a new name, so 4500U is a minor update. Wow. Well, I'm glad I do this stuff live because I'd be banging my head against the wall here. I mean, it does seem like it performs pretty well, but yeah, so this is actually, you know what's gold? What's gold is not this channel, but what's gold is all of you. Because I had no idea. Like I follow this stuff obviously, but I'm so like wrapped up in just getting the next review done that I'm often missing some of these details that you really help me with. So I appreciate all of that. Okay. So 5500U does not have Zen 3, Zen 2, kind of a minor update. Okay. All right, so now we're going to get a restart. So let's do that real quick. But we are going to put the new driver on. Why not? We'll see what that gets us. All right. Yeah, I should do a weekly wrap-up on this. Because it's even more confusing because you know what Intel did? So here's another thing that happened. So 10th generation Intel chips, whatever lake it was, right? So you bought the Intel, whatever, the i5 with the G7 graphics. Now in the prior generation, the 10th generation chip, the i5 with the G7 was the same graphics hardware as the i7 with the G7. Fast forward to Tiger Lake, the 11th generation chip. The i5 with the G7 is not the same as the i7 with the G7, both for CPU and for graphics. It has less graphics cores than, you know, like this is the stuff that gets consumers really confused. I don't know if people even know what they're getting, you know? And now I'm concerned with what's happening now because when I installed the driver, the display got dimmer. So hopefully the dimming comes back. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so the dimmer doesn't work anymore. So maybe it's still installing software. Okay, so let's let that finish up. Mark Smith wants to know what ports are on this. You've got an HDMI, a USB-C. I don't know if this is full service. We'll find out about that shortly. What you have on the other side are two USB 3 ports. There's also a headphone jack and a full-size card reader. Dave Ramrup says, what lake is this laptop? This one's got no lake. It's a Zen garden. And hovering above myself says 5400U, 5600U, and 58U are the new ones. The rest are rebrands. Why did they do that? See, I was confused by that. You know, it makes you wonder too if like they're hitting the limit on what they can produce inexpensively, so they just make it look like it's new. And Spike Blighty says the 11th gen is worse than the 10th. Actually, no, the 11th gen is faster. However, before, the graphics core was the same in the i5 and the i7. Now the i5 with the G7 has less graphic cores than the i7 with the G7. So there you go. Connor says, I'm his favorite YouTuber. Thank you. All right. Alejandro says, does it have HDR? No, it does not. It's got a TN display, so it's not great. This is definitely basic transportation. And what we've discovered here with this, and this is going to be, I think, a good lesson for the review, and I'm not going to ding HP on this. This is more of an AMD problem, is that there doesn't appear to be that much of a performance difference between the 5500U and the 4500U. So we're going to have to figure out all of that. The price on this one is varied. I think you can get in the door for around $500, $600. Again, it would have been less pre-pandemic without the electronic shortages. Is the RAM upgradable? I don't know. We will find out. I think it is. Most of these inexpensive machines have upgradable memory. We have to take it apart to get there. Flood of Sins wants to know, what kind of dog do I have? I have a Siberian Husky. Her name is Sasha. All right, so let's go back in. We're going to run that benchmark one more time just to see if we get a different score. And if we don't, we're just going to leave it be. And then I think I'll have Jake come by and just do his thing with this, because there's nothing new here that I'm all that excited about, other than to tell people that if you want the better performance, you got to go to the even numbered chip. Why even make it? I don't get it. Like, why not just keep the 4500U and have that, because that's what they were doing before. The third generation chips, the 3000 series, were still available when you could get a 4000, right? Why not do that? But instead, we've got this confusion. And I'm confused. I don't even know what day it is anymore. Is it Tuesday? It feels like a Wednesday. It felt like Wednesday all day today. And granted, I'm a guy that sits in his basement and works 7 days a week, so I have no idea what day it is, nor does it really matter anymore. The only thing that matters about days of the week are that when my kids are in school, which they are until the end of next month, or beginning of next month, I still have like some normal process to my day. But they're done with school like the second week of June, so at that point, it's back to back to whatever. Okay, so we're going to run the benchmark one more time. We're probably going to get a very similar result. So how big is the difference on a scale of 1 to 10? Well, if you go to Lon.TV/benchmark, you can see exactly what it is. We are getting, it's a little better than what it was, CPU-wise. So what we're getting here, I'll show you, I'll pull it up on the screen. Because this ThinkBook that we looked at just the other day, this was a nicely performing ThinkBook when you had dual channel memory installed. And you can see this one's doing a little bit better, but not by much, just a little bit better on the graphics and a little bit better on the CPU performance. So it comes in almost to where the 4750 did on one of these ThinkPads we looked at. But it's not as quick as a Tiger Lake, i5 or i7. I would say it matches an i5 with the G7 and exceeds it on CPU performance, so it does do that. So it's a little, it's marginally better than the 4500U is, at least initially. We'll see what this next test comes back at. I expect it'll be roughly the same. And so now, like, the bigger mystery is, like, how would we do with a 5600U, which is what we got to look for next. So, you know, you just go with the punches here. We've got to keep learning, which is why I do these live, so that I can learn from all of you. Yeah, that's what FMQ, yeah, sell it better. That's it. You know, there's a bunch of engineers saying, this is not right. It's the same freaking thing. It's a little bit faster. Maybe they clocked it slightly higher, right? But that's it. Frank Cromer on the Amazon chat says, a Connecticut Husky. Really? Yep, I have a Siberian Husky. I got her from, and actually she was a rescue. I got her from the Hartford Dog Pound when she was about a year old. She's a good dog. And I take her out for, we do about a mile, we do 2 1-mile walks a day because you got to keep her moving. They're high energy breed. They're working dogs. They like to be out and do stuff. Is it me or is here, I'll pull this up from Spike here. It looks like it, but I think that's actually my camera. My camera has this weird little optical, I have these cameras I'm not crazy about. At some point I'm going to upgrade my cameras. Oh, Frank was referring to the University of Connecticut Huskies. Yes. And that Husky's name is Jonathan. There's been a million Jonathans. But mine actually looks like Jonathan. She's the same coloring. She's black and white. So here's a question from the Pro00. What brand of laptops do I like better, Acer or HP? You know, it really depends on what you're looking for. I think HP makes a better, higher-end laptop. And I think when you're in the mid-range to low range, they're about the same. And at this point, it's going to matter less about brand and more about what you can get right now at the right price. Because of all these shortages, it's really hard. But I would say that I have felt better build quality out of the Acers in the comparable lineup versus this one. And they sometimes have better displays. I'm not pleased with the industrial design or the display on this one. Frank Cromer says a friend of his has 10 Husky rescues, all from, wow. That has got to be a handful. Because when you have, so here's the thing with Siberian Huskies. When you have 2 of them, their mental capacity increases exponentially because they actually work, they're very good pack animals and they work very well together to figure things out. They're very smart animals to begin with, but when you have a bunch of them together, they can create a lot of mischief. So you got to really keep an eye on those dogs if you have more than one. That's why I only have 1 Husky. Dave says, run some Linux. Yep, we will definitely do that at some point. I have limited time, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do everything today, but maybe we'll boot up Linux. Actually, you know what I've got to do? I need to download the new version of it, so we will do that in the review. So I think, Spike, that we would see a much bigger leap if we had the one based on the Zen 3. That's where we would see the biggest leap. And Roger P. wants to see a picture of my Husky. Let me see if I've got one on my phone I can find quickly here. She's a great dog. Her name is Sasha. Like I said, I rescued her from the dog pound. It was one of those kill shelters. They weren't going to kill her. They told me after I signed the paperwork, oh, we never kill the good, nice ones. Something to that effect. But yeah, I came across her about 2 weeks after my other, so I had a Husky before her who passed away. That's Sasha. So my dog that I had before passed away about 2 weeks before I came across her. But she's a great dog. So now she's probably about 7 or 8. We think she was about 1 year old when we got her. She was still pretty much a pup. But she's a goofball. She likes to just, like, you'll be walking with her sometimes and she just like flops over for no reason. Really sweet dog. I don't know what she went through because they found her wandering around the streets of Hartford, no identification. There was actually 2 dogs. There was her and her brother. At least they suspected that it was her brother. But just a great dog. And good for me because like she keeps me active because you got to exercise them. Because if you don't, they make your life miserable. And actually what my dog does to make my life miserable is that she antagonizes the children and my wife. So I have to she knows how to get my attention. So that's how it works. And Roger's wanting to know, do I walk my dog? So actually the dog typically walks me, at least when we first get out and start walking. But yeah, we go out 2 or 3 times a day. Unless it's like really raining or lousy out. If it's just sprinkling, we'll do that. The phone that I have is an iPhone 12 Pro at the moment. Chris Allegretta likes pie. I do too, depending on the pie. Apple pie is my favorite pie. That and anything with chocolate in it. So yeah, I was surprised to see that this has a TN panel on it. It looks like it's TN at least. But it is 1080p, but the entry point in this product line is a 720p display. All right, so we did a little better on this run. So it actually did, let's scroll down a little bit here. Yeah, actually this was a much better result. All right, so again, Lon.TV/benchmarks. So here's the new score that we got. And this was after we updated the driver. So now we're at 11. Here, let me move this screen over a little bit here. Let's get it better centered there so you can see everything. So we are at now 1170. I'm going to move it up on the list in a second. On the first graphics test, we got a much better score, 7.02 FPS. The second test was similar, 5.73 FPS. And the CPU was about the same, 15.64. So a decent jump. I mean, not as much as I was hoping for, but this is not bad. So this will put it like right below, So this puts it like within, this has been kind of fun to follow this, okay? So if we look at this, this is why I keep this database. Again, I don't put a lot of weight on benchmarks necessarily, but this does give you an idea as to like where are we at performance-wise, right? So let's go back to the best performing 4500U that we had before, which was this ThinkBook we reviewed a few weeks ago with dual channel memory. That's what we got, right? Drivers installed on the HP, 1170. You can see it's, it's a nice little bump in performance, right? But look where it falls into the mix here. So performance-wise, it is right up there with the i7 with the Iris Pro graphics. And the CPU performance is actually better. Like we're within the margin of error here. And I suspect that the reason why we did not see a big difference here between, it's a whole frame per second faster. So, it's not terrible. It's clocking higher, and it's better than a 4500U. So there is some improvement here, but not light years. However, I bet you they're gunning for the Iris Plus here at a lower price point because it comes right in there, right? This is the Iris Plus i5. This is the i7. And granted, not all of these machines perform the same. So if we go up to like the ThinkPad X1 Nano here, this is probably more indicative of what you should see on that CPU. It's interesting, isn't it? So there you go. Okay, so that's not bad. Interesting. So FMQ says that the drivers have been improved dramatically, and we'd probably see the same performance. I wish I had a 4500U laying around to do that with. I'll have to check and see. Yeah, we just finished up The most recent one I did was that ThinkBook about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, yeah, and as FMQA says, it's no longer terrible, it's just okay. So I think they've got just enough of a bump to do that, but it's interesting. And I think I missed whatever comment. I think Chris might have moderated somebody here. But every once in a while, the nasties come out. Let's see here. Damon says, I suggest checking out different laptops, then buy what fits your needs. Yeah, that's often what you should do. Although I think at this point, you know, this is what my concern is for the next couple of months. And we'll see how the economy comes back and whether or not these chip fabrication companies can get their acts together. You know, what we're looking at right now is the fact that if you are on a budget, it's going to be one of those things where you got to take what you can get at the price point. So if you're looking for something and you see a price that works with a configuration that is close to what you're looking for, you got to jump on it quick, because you cannot get a lot of these mid-range computers right now. Maybe we'll take it apart real quick and just see what's inside, and then I got to run. And then I'll probably turn this over to Jake to do a little bit more with it. All right, so we're going to let that finish up there. All right, so now we're going to pull this stuff out of here, and we'll do a quick little tear down. Now, I suspect that what we're going to have to do here is pull off these rubber feet to get into this thing. So why don't we take a look underneath here and see if there's screws underneath it. Hopefully they don't get too mad at me for pulling these off. And the adhesive, it's like you'll never get this adhesive back on again. That's why I hate getting into these things. You know what I want to look at? Because they just posted one of these recently. Let me take a look and see if they have a teardown guide. Because they just posted a really good teardown of their new ARM-based machine that we're going to be reviewing soon. I have so much stuff to review, and all this, like, nothing's ready to be shot, and it drives me crazy. I do have a couple of Lenovo's, so we'll probably get to one of those soon, just so I can get one ready. What happens is I get ahead of the game, and then I start a bunch of stuff, and it never goes well. So I have a Roku, the Roku 4K, the Roku Express 4K Plus. That one we've got in the pipeline. So that one is going to be done soon. Actually, it's already uploaded. I just have to get it put together here. All right, so let's go and look at, I'm just trying to find the link to the HP teardown. Yeah, so this is for that other one. So I wonder if they have everything tearing down up there now. It seems like a lot of these companies are trying to do more to help people repair things. Yes, yeah, HP support. Yeah, they've got like all sorts of teardown videos. Let me show you what they've got here. And let me go and just reset my screen. So this is the HP support page. And let's see if we can find, yeah, they've got everything here. So now they're showing you how to remove, like this is like every computer, at least their higher end ones. Like full teardown videos. Some of these go for 40 minutes or more. But it looks like these are mostly, oh, actually this one looks like a pretty low end one. So let's do a search here and see if they have it, because this one is called the, bear with me here, the 15Z EF2000. So let me do a search for that. I doubt they're going to have that because that would be too easy. Oh, 15Z. This is the EC00 from a year ago. So I don't know if this is the same one or not, but let's see what it looks like here. I suspect it's going to be very similar in its configuration, but all right, remove the base enclosure. Oh, so they're telling you how to do this. Is just the solid state drive. Yeah, I think we're going to have to do it the hard way. No shortcuts for this guy today. But yeah, this is a light use kind of computer. And let's see if we can get, here, I'll give you an overhead here. If I can do it without cutting my fingers open. Just want to see if there's screws underneath here or if, because if it's just got one screw, we might be okay. Because it's like there's a screw here and a screw here. I don't think it's ever going to be that easy to crack into one of these things. Usually they've got a few more screws than that. So let's see if there's anything else underneath the foot. Is that a screw? It might be a screw. But they don't want you getting into this. I'm going to go this way so I don't cut my fingers open. We don't want any blood on the live stream. This is a family show. It doesn't look like a screw in there. Oh, it is a screw. Okay, so there's one there. Yeah, they're all over the place. Yeah, so I think we'll have to just, we're committed now. So we'll just go ahead and just try this and see what we can get done quickly here in the next hour. Because my little one is my responsibility at 5:30, and it's 4:30 now. That is definitely on there better than the other side. So let me go grab my tool set. I thought it was over here with me, but I must have put it back where it belongs. So let me go find that real quick. Yes, it looks like this one has 1, 2, 3 here on the bottom, 2 in the middle, and I'm guessing there's probably another 3 on the top. That's typically how these configure themselves. And if you're curious, I've got this great tool set that I got a while ago on one of these, this was on one of those Prime Day sales. But this has become like my go-to little toolkit. It's like, it costs like nothing. It's like $12 or $13. It's really inexpensive. And it really does a good job. So this one came off much cleaner. All right, so there we go. All right, so now I think what I'm also going to do is grab my, I've got a, yeah, this is like gunked on here. Oh my goodness. If I can get that to peel off. I do have a magnetic mat, which I'm going to use because these screws might be different sizes. So we're going to put that out. First of all, so the screws don't go all over the place, but also because I can organize them as I take them out to know where they should go. And by the way, if I don't have a teardown video, we typically do this for just about every laptop that comes in, at least the ones that we are unsure of what the upgradability is. But what's funny is that when you get into some of these lower end machines, they're almost as a general rule, they're upgradable. So we'll just go ahead and take these screws out. And what's nice is that this magnetic thing, I can put them in the order in which I take them out. There's a nice grid on it. A lot of these also come with a whiteboard marker, so you could even put notes on it. Like this one goes here, this one goes there. But because like the middle screw is different than the other two, not only do these not fall on the carpet and get lost, I also know what they do. All right, so we got one here and one here. And it looks like I have people coming home. So let me check the calendar and see what plan is here. Okay, so they are home earlier. Actually, no, we're good. They have a break before their swim lessons. Okay. Yeah, the kids have swim lessons. Or one of the kids has swim lessons. The younger kid doesn't like swimming, so we'll try again later with that. All right, so it looks like this is like it's separated from the other thing, so I've got to get this to peel off. You should always take this as a sign that they don't want you. Ah, there we go. You should take this as a sign they don't want you getting into their laptop. That's how I always look at these things. Okay, so this one has 3 identical screws here at the bottom. David Martin notes that I'm not wearing an anti-static bracelet. That is correct. I need to go find my anti-static bracelet. But the good news is that we don't have a lot of static down here right now because my heater has failed. That's my next project. And the air is not dry. Okay, so let's grab my little spudger thing here. And as always, we always want to be gentle, partly because I don't own this laptop, but also because we don't want to break anything. And it's always good to be slow and cautious because we're kind of venturing into the unknown here. And I'm hoping that the keyboard pops out with this part. This is going to get messy. It looks easy, but then once you get into it, it's like, okay, where does the keyboard go? Because all we want really is the bottom to separate, not the top. But the seam here is on the top part of the case. Yeah, I usually will wear like a static bracelet if I'm going to touch stuff or ooh, yeah, okay, that's where the trackpad is. I'm not liking what's happening here. Nothing's breaking. But, okay, so it looks like this whole part comes up. But I'm anticipating there being a ribbon cable kind of attaching everything together. So that's what I'm most nervous about here. So really all we want to do is just see what's on the bottom. And actually it looks like the whole motherboard, okay, is attached to the keyboard section here. So I will take some chats here in a minute once I finish what I'm doing. I'll give you a better view than the top of my head. You see how gray my hair is getting? This is what happens when you have children. You get gray hair. I didn't have gray hair before my children. And I have good kids. They don't give me a lot of headaches yet, but they're also 8 and 5. So I think when they become teenagers, I might have. All right, let's get this through here. There we go. Give you another view here. And you just go very gently and just kind of get everything detached. And I've actually gotten fairly good at this. When I was a kid, I would just like go to town on it and usually break something. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that I will not break something here, but I'm getting a little bit more patient in my older years here. But I can tell you what I see so far. And I do I see RAM? I don't see RAM yet. In there to separate out a little bit more. So what we're trying to do here is get this bottom part of the case to pop off. And it's still hanging on in the back there, so we're going to lift it back up. Yeah, it looks like everything is attached to the keyboard deck here, motherboard and all. There it goes. Almost there. You just want to be really careful. So we want to send this back in the same condition in which we found it, more or less. So it's just that last little section here. It's always the last mile that gives you the most trouble. See, if this was Louis Rossman's channel, he would have this thing like completely opened up in 2 seconds. But he is far more experienced at this sort of thing than I. There we go. So it looks like there's a little bit of a break in the middle here. There we go. Almost there. This might be ASMR to some people, right? Like that calm. This is all about being calm. We're going to pull this PC apart. Let's see what we find. Todd says, throw it across the room already. Yeah, we're almost to that point. It's hanging on. It's hanging on pretty good. There we go. All right. We are in. And what do we have? Well, we have got your standard fare. I mean, I could have guessed what this would have looked like, but it's always good to have confirmation, right? So this is the inside. And let's zoom in a little bit here just to get a better look at it. I'm going to record a little bit so that we have some B-roll of what it looks like inside. So let me go and add this to my recording folder here. This is the HP 15-5500U. All right, I'm going to save that, and we're going to do a little recording session. And we'll just grab some B-roll. I'll probably just grab a still shot also, just for the heck of it. Now, they used to have like, oh, it does have, I was just going to say, it looked like there's room for a SATA drive right here, but it doesn't actually have any way to attach one. All right, so we got the B-roll. So you do have dual channel memory, so you could definitely upgrade it. And this is good because a lot of these computers don't come this way, especially at this mid-range. But you know what's funny about these cheap laptops is that they're always upgradable. They are always upgradable, and the expensive ones are not. Now, what can we upgrade on this one? Well, we have an NVMe SSD here. This one has, it's coming from the company called the Solid State Storage Technology Corporation. I'm not sure if that's a company I'm familiar with, but you can pull that out, no problem. Replace that. Got 2 sticks of RAM you can pull out, replace those. Get your Wi-Fi card over there. This one has an HP part number. I may take a picture of that because this might be, just in case we have any Linux issues later. I have to download the new version of Ubuntu to test. I do not expect any problems with Linux on this because these AMD machines have been really good on the Linux side. So there you go. And Chris Ainsley says, you got to respect not having the eMMC. Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of these in this price category have gone there. And again, I think what's happening though is like this, I think this costs more than it normally would because of all of our shortages. Now let's see if it goes back together easier than it came apart. The battery is definitely minimal. I don't have the capacity. Oh, it's 33,440 milliamp hours. And I'm guessing that's based on a USB. I think there's like tablets that have more than that. I'll take a picture of that too, just so we have it archived here. You know, we really take for granted how easy it is to take a picture these days. You know, before we'd have to take the picture, we have to have some film. I'd have to go down to the photo mat. We used to have one of those little photo mat huts in the department store parking lot and go from there. Now, it looks like they must have repurposed a case they were using before because this looks like you could fit another hard drive here, but there's nothing to attach another hard drive to. And there's definitely no room in the case for it. I'm just trying to see if there's any other NVMe slots here, but nope, that is it. Yeah, not bad. Basic transportation, but it works. All right, so let's see if we can put it back together now. And I'll take some questions. Yeah, hammer time. Let's hammer it back on. It is a little trickier to get this thing back together again because it kind of sits, it all like kind of snaps in from the top here. I love when it clicks in. It's very satisfying when you get that to click. It makes it all worth it to hear that clicking. Just comes right back together again. Yeah, so it's pretty easily upgradable, right? You can get some more RAM on there if you want to boost its memory. I would probably do that, especially if you're playing games on it. But what you'll see on this, and if we have a few minutes, maybe I can squeak out one quick game of something. What you'll see on this is that you can actually get games to run on this because these AMD chips are not bad. And that's what's been so great about the last couple of years is that we've seen dramatic improvements in performance with machines that don't have discrete GPUs. And so it's possible to run graphically intensive things in a way that you couldn't before. And I think that's progress. As someone who looks at this stuff a lot. Like I've been reviewing laptops for a while now, these kind of laptops, and you can do so much more with them than you could before. So that's what's been exciting me. Chris Allegretta says, it's all fair until you smell smoke. And for me, it's all fair until I see smoke. But hopefully I didn't do anything to cause smoke to come out. But if we get that apple going again, it certainly would do that. There is no second storage slot that I can see. Chris is asking, do I manually switch camera angles? I sure do. I'm running on vMix. So right now I've got 3 camera angles. I've got one, where'd the screw come from? Oh, great. Nope, never mind, I got it. I've got one above, which is what you were looking at before. I've got one on me, and then I've got this shot here. So I can do this and then switch that way. So I have it linked up on a little Logitech keyboard here that I use to switch. And what's funny is I record my videos, and I apologize to all of you who listen to me talk about this every time on the stream, but I really think I've got a good workflow here. So my workflow is I actually record my videos the same way I am streaming right now. So I'm switching live as I do the stream here, and then when I record, I actually do the same thing to record. All right, it looks like the same number of screws that came out are what's going back in. So I think we've accomplished our mission of not breaking this thing. We'll find out if it boots up again. But now we know what's inside, and that's what matters. Because people want to know. And now that they're going to be spending more on a computer of this class, it's important to know everything about it, right? It's almost back to how things were when I first got started, because a lot of people were, looking for information about how far could they stretch $1 with their computer purchase. And I think we're going to see a period of time where the price of these things is going to go up again. These things never go back on the same way they came off, especially this one because the adhesive is just so awful on it. But this one, I think we'll have better luck with this piece here. And we'll just put this back on like this. But this will be an instructive review because it'll give us a benchmark for where the 5500Us should come into play. And I suspect, based on what we've seen so far, that the performance on this should probably be a benchmark we could expect on others. And I'm sure the battery life is going to be abysmal on this thing. But we'll check that out too before I do the full review. Spike Blighty says, it looks brand new now. I hope it does. I was going to say, don't tell them I took it apart, but they could see that I did. Yeah, so I'll let them know his rubber feet are not going to be ideal. But you know what happens, I send these back to HP. This came from China, but it's going to go back to HP. So we'll see how it goes. Let me just go put my tools away real quick. I'm trying to get better about putting things away where I found them after I'm done. It's been a skill I've been trying to learn since I was 10 years old. And if you can see what a mess this place is, I have not been learning. Okay. So we're going to boot it back up again. We'll make sure that it functions as it should. I'm just going to keep the power connected so we can get that battery charged. Okay, there we go. And because I didn't touch anything, hopefully we don't have any magic smoke come out. And there you go. Good as new. All right. Yeah, those rubber feet are never going back on again the same way. I'll have to get some new adhesive for it. And William Wilkinson got his second COVID shot. Excellent. You know what's funny? I think I've talked about this before on the channel about how I think I may have gotten it at CES last year or two, whenever it was, a year and a half, 2 years ago. Strange thing is that ever since I had whatever I had, I didn't really realize this was an issue, but I was having I was sleeping. I was not comfortable sleeping. I had, I wouldn't want to say it was a shortness of breath, but it was uncomfortable breathing ever since I was sick back in January of 2020. And I kid you not, it was going on for that whole length of time. And after I got my second shot and went through all the usual things that happen after your second one, would you know that I am breathing better at night? I never had low oxygen count or anything concerning like that, but I was waking up often because I wasn't comfortable breathing. I thought it was my apnea. I thought I had to go get that looked at. And I kid you not, a week after that second shot, I have been breathing better than I have in a year and a half. So, and I didn't really have any respiratory issues when I had whatever I had, but I am breathing better at night than I did before. So I can see if I don't know if I really had it or not or what. I just don't know. But all I know is that I got that second shot. Now I breathe better. And I'm sleeping better. I haven't slept as well as I've been sleeping in months. So I'm feeling good. All right, so we're going to go and put this to work here. We'll do a quick game, and then I got to run. Okay. Let's put this in here. Get that hard drive reinstalled. And we're going to load up Steam. But I have a neighbor around the corner from me, older guy. He caught it. He had an appointment to get his first shot. He caught it before he got the shot. Poor guy. He's doing better, though. But he was knocked out for a week and a half. All right, so let me go and load up Red Dead Redemption. We're just going to go for the gusto here, everybody. So let me go and just go Settings, Steam Folders. Yeah, you could probably use the trackpad here as a trampoline. It is very springy. Everything you see is what it feels like. It is not a spectacular build quality on this. But what's neat about it is that you can run stuff like this. Oh, my hard drive just took a dive here. So let's see how it does with all my wires strewn about. I suppose I could go Bluetooth on this, but let's do that. Looks kind of ugly just having this ugly USB cable there. So let me just do a quick Bluetooth pairing and we'll get that going. All right, settings. into pairing mode. All right, we're almost there. Let's get this thing paired up again. Xbox wireless controller connecting. We're good. Okay, so we're going to click continue here. I'm going to log into my Rockstar account. It's installing data. And I thought I loaded Red Dead Redemption, but it looks like I guess it's just downloading some additional stuff. So let that do its thing. And we've got a friend from India, Muthu Gokal. I hope I got your name right there. All right, we're going to wait this finish up here. And let's play the game. All right, we're not going to get into virus debates, everybody. So I'm going to mute any information that I deem not appropriate here. All right. Thank you, Chris, for taking care of that. Okay, let's let this load up. Connecting to the Rockstar Game Service. Shiza wants to know, is the color bad on the TN display? You know what's funny? TN displays have gotten much better. They have gotten much better, but they're still not as good as IPS, for sure. And then I've got to log in. So it's one thing, you got to log into Steam, and then you got to log into this other thing. So we're going to enable cloud saves because I have a game stored in the cloud. I've not gotten too far in this game yet. I may have Jake play through a little bit more. Maybe I can download some save games just to get it into some other part of the scenery. Because right now we're kind of stuck in the thing there. So let's see what we get. Yeah, and what's funny is we're finding that we can run Red Dead if you have dual channel memory. This one might struggle because of the RAM, because we only have 8 gigs of RAM. It's like we're getting warnings about the RAM here, right? I expected that. But we can probably push it to work. And what I need to do, we had trouble, I'm just trying to think back. I think we had trouble getting the frame rate to display on this game because it's Vulkan, right? All right, so your computer, yeah, we're still getting the errors on it, that's fine. So what I'm going to do is turn this, because it's starting windowed, and so what I'm going to do is just turn this up to like 1080p bare minimums, and let's see what we get out of this. And we're glad you're feeling better Tano, because it's, everyone has a different experience, but it sounds like you had a pretty good wallop there. Let's go into display. That's the wrong one. I want to go into graphics. Always confused, like, is it graphics or display that we go into? All right, so we're going to go to 1080. We're going to go full screen. And I think there's a setting to like, yeah, we're on like super low here. Let's, oops. So we're going to go, yes, keep that. And then we're going to do display level, favor performance. Yes, we're going to do favor performance, which is like the lowest of ever. Oh, I see. So if I go to 1080p, that becomes a custom display mode, I think. All right, so let's apply that. So we're at super low settings. And then I'm going to do my little Steam thing to see if I can get a frame rate counter up here. So let's go over to what am I missing here? Settings, here we go. And then we're going to go to in-game FPS counter. We'll just throw that in the upper left-hand corner. So I don't think, yeah, we got, okay, now we got one. Perfect, okay. I think my controller is working, yep. And we'll see how we do. I'm not expecting much here, but we'll see what, how it does. So we're at low settings, 1080p, but it won't be a slideshow. I'm pretty sure we'll get probably 20 to 30 FPS on this. That's what I've seen on some of the other ones. And we'll also record some B-roll footage while this is running. So we have a save game that's going to drop us off like in the winter zone, I think, is where we're going to end up here. Or maybe it's a little bit more postage stamp, or yeah, it's okay. It's running at about 16 to 15 right now. But I'll skip through the story here and see if we can get to like the regular gameplay portion. Yeah, so I think probably 720p is probably where you're going to want to go. maybe we'll turn down to that because it's kind of frozen. But remember, we only have 8 gigs of RAM on here too, so I think we're struggling with a lack of memory. Mark Smith says, what is the color warmth on this display? You know, it doesn't look cold to me. It doesn't look all that warm either. It feels fairly, from a color temperature standpoint, fairly well balanced. But this is like totally locked up. Yeah, it's frozen. Well, you're not going to run this game at 1080p. So you know what we'll do is we'll turn it down to 720p and see if that does better. And then I got to run. But I do see Roger's request for Valorant, so maybe I'll try to run that in the review. Is that a popular game now, everybody? Valorant? Is that what everybody's playing? But I think we could squeeze 720p out of this thing. Okay, so Chris says, yeah, so it's super popular. All right, so maybe I'll make a note to get that installed and play with that. Okay, so we're gonna hit OK again. So it is warning me. So I'm getting fair warning here that we don't have enough RAM, but that's okay because we're gonna push through and see what we get here. So we're gonna go to 720p, and I suspect we'll have better luck with this. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the settings here. Oops, no. So we're going to go left stick is settings. Okay, so let's go back to graphics. And this time we're going to go to 720p. And we're still at the performance setting here, which is like favor performance. All right, so let's do that. And let's see if we can make it work now. We're definitely pushing the limits here. But you couldn't even think of doing this on a laptop like this a few years ago. All right, let's see. Some good discussion about Valorant here, so that's helpful. That's much better. So this is running around 30 FPS right now. Now it's down to 25. Let's skip the storyline here. So Roger says that Valorant is CS:GO with abilities. So what kind of ability? So like each character has a different like ability, like a special move, like a special, I don't want to call it magic, but like some special thing that they can do. Versus like a generic sniper soldier kind of thing. Is that a good description? I should know more about these things. Okay, so now we're at 720p. And you saw it didn't get held up where it got stuck before. So that's good. And pretty soon it should turn control over to us so we can start moving the character around. I do have to play through this a little bit more because I haven't really done that yet. Just haven't had time. I do play games with my kids, but it's been funny because like normally I would be playing a game like this by myself. But now my kids like to play video games at night after they're done with all their obligations. Yeah, this isn't bad. We're at 25 frames per second, 720p. So this is totally playable. I mean, if you're obviously not getting the full experience you'd have with a NVIDIA GPU and all that good stuff, but it's locked at a solid 25 right here. The fan's going off like a you-know-what, but I should probably play through this game a little bit more to get into some other scenes. Oh, can I kill the horse? Horse is not happy. Horse is not happy. Get the horse out of there. Okay, so where did the guy go? He's over here. Yeah, so we're running about 25. Doesn't look all that great. But it's playable. Now we're at 20. We're at 30 right now, but there's less complexity to what we have on screen right now too. So I'm sure that's part of it. Let's make a note of this here too. Let's see what the sound is on this too. Let's turn the sound up. Yeah, sound's working.
Continue along the cliff wall here.
Yeah, the audio's not breaking up.
Davey got shot. Mac and John both shot too. Sean, we don't even know.
So there we go. Eagle One is watching our stream right now. Just pop me a message.
Showed up from the other side of town. We were only just holding on.
Bad business, all right.
Cinematic camera.
Tranquilo.
That snow's coming in hot again.
We'll lose these tracks if we don't move fast.
Hold A while viewing cinematic camera to automatically follow roads and other paths. Okay. Yeah. It's not going to blow your socks off performance-wise, but it's playing. So let this run through a little bit more here. Matthew K wants to know, actually the fan noise is not bad right now. It's definitely audible, but it's not obnoxiously loud. Let's put it that way. So I will run the 3D Mark stress test on it. So we'll get a better feel for that. But you'll have gaming laptops that'll make a lot more noise than this one does, that's for sure. You can change the cinematic camera. Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. Let me grab some footage of this. Yeah, this is running at actually around 34 FPS now. I guess when the snow kind of dissipates, it's not as bad. Yes, you don't have a lot of detail on the mountains. It's not great at this resolution and these settings, but it runs pretty nicely. Again, I would say it's probably the equivalent of probably running this on the original Xbox, maybe. I don't know what it runs on a non-Xbox Series X, you know, like the base model. But yeah, it works. Better than expected. 720p, right? So nothing spectacular. But yeah, we're running at about 30 FPS right here. So I can push left buttons to view my stored weapons. Left button, which, oh, the horse is pooping. Look at that, the horse poops. That's some realism right there. I think I just stepped in it. Hold the left button to view, okay, here we go. So I can grab my sidearm here. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. So I'm pretty pleased. I mean, it's, you know, you would not expect something like this to run that, right? That's kind of the deal. So it's probably just below the original Xbox One. Yeah, this is it. I'm going to be kicked off of YouTube for that horse poop part, right? My kids will love that part. So there you go. Jay wants to know, do I ever prepare a script? Typically not. No, I usually go off the top of my head. Now, granted, when I'm streaming like I am today, we're just chatting, right? So that's kind of more natural. But no, typically I don't script anything. I just sit down and do my thing. What's nice about the PC reviews is that there's a real formula to them. So I know what viewers are looking for most of the time. So it seems to be doing pretty good. All right. Joey wants to know about Linux on Ryzen. I think Linux runs fine on Ryzen. I haven't seen anything that really concerns me about it. I haven't run a lot of games on it, though, so I don't know if that might impact things a little differently, but it's been pretty good. All right, everybody. I've got a jet because I am on dad patrol because my big one's going to swim lessons. I got to watch the little ones, so there you go. But, yeah, I think this was a fun exercise here. We got a lot of good comments in. And yeah, we'll have a few other games that I'll run for the review. So if we'll see where I'm at. Maybe tomorrow morning if I'm finishing up the B-roll for this, maybe I'll pop back on. And then the other live stream that I have in the hopper for this week is I got my Starlink antenna. So we'll probably do a little Starlink stuff. So be on the lookout for that. So there you go. All right. Well, everybody, I appreciate you all hanging out with me for today. I think, how long have we been going for? About 2 hours. So we got a good start on this one. I've got a little bit more to do with it, but I'm happy with how it's been performing. And we're going to have tomorrow's review will be of that Roku. And then if I'm able to get some more work done on this one tonight and tomorrow, we will have a review of this one up shortly thereafter. So there you go. All right. And Starlink is the SpaceX satellite internet. That's going to be fun. And we're not going to put it on the roof. We're going to put it out in the backyard because I'm going to use it as a backup. So I'm going to use like the first month of service to get everybody's questions answered for some content, and then I'm going to cancel the service and hang on to the dish. And then when the storms roll through here and we lose trees and they knock off the power cables and everything, I'll be able to use the Starlink dish as my backup internet connection. So that's the plan. So we'll see how it goes. I'm glad you all had a good time. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll be back again very soon with some more fun stuff. And I want to thank, we did get a super chat in at the outset, except my computer is not telling me that we got one, but I know we had a super chat earlier. So thank you for whoever made the super chat. And yeah, so stay tuned, everybody. We will be back with more on this laptop and some more live streams coming up very soon. It's only Tuesday, but it really feels like Wednesday. I don't know what's going on. So that's it. Okay, everybody. Thank you all again. Chris Allegretta, thank you for moderating today. And I will catch you all later. Bye-bye.